A pleasant day to all of you, our viewers here on Agenda. Thank you for joining us this morning, and thank you for being subscribers of Signal TV, viewers of One News PH on channels 8 and 250. Today is April 27, 2022. It's the middle of the week. It's a Wednesday, and welcome, and please join us as we tackle interesting topics and ask the questions that are foremost in the minds of people. Today, we will be speaking to two personalities. First will be Octa Research Dr. Guido David, and we will be asking him everything about projections, statistics, and forecasts for COVID-19. Because there is serious concern expressed by the World Health Organization that if the Philippines is unable to strictly implement what we have been doing all along, we may suddenly find ourselves confronted with a COVID-19 surge sometime in May, if not in June. Okay, so after our interview with Dr. Guido David, we will be speaking with citizen Rowena Guanzon, former commissioner of the Commission on Elections, on her take regarding particular issues that have been cropping up regarding COMELEC. Now that she is an outsider and is free to speak, perhaps we can get a deeper analysis from her compared to when she was in the commission and was restrained. Okay, we will also follow up on issues that cropped up during her term. And in the meantime, let's go to our daily starter for today. It comes from Alicia Quarles. Alicia Quarles said, "Don't underestimate the value of having a good team. You don't become successful on your own. You have to rely on really good people." Okay, that's a very wise reminder of Alicia Quarles for us, because many individuals tend to go on their own. Marami pong mahilig mag-Lone Ranger sa buhay. Malungkot po ang mga Lone Ranger, malamig pag December, pagkatapos pag nagka-problema na wala silang matakbuhan, wala silang matanong. Teamwork is still essential, and having a good team will make the difference. Whether you are going to be the future president of the Republic of the Philippines or whether it is team bahay at home, teamwork will always matter. Okay, now let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star, April 27, 2022, and the headline: Supreme Court gives anti-terror law the all clear. The Supreme Court, in a decision penned in Baguio City, has denied all the filed motions for reconsideration due to lack of substantial issues and arguments raised by petitioners challenging the anti-terror law. Okay, at the top of the newspaper, at the header, DOH warns of non-COVID outbreaks. I repeat, DOH warns of non-COVID outbreaks because marami po sa inyong mga magulang, many parents, for various reasons, failed or opted not to bring their children out of the residence and be vaccinated for fear of COVID-19. The problem is, while we were protecting ourselves from COVID-19, many parents overlooked the need for vaccination for their children. So doon po sa mga magulang na may mga maliliit na bata, mga supling, I am personally appealing to you. Nakikiusap po ako sa inyo ng mataimtim. Dalhin po ninyo yung mga anak nyo sa pediatrician ninyo para mabakunahan. Kasi baka mamaya sa huli ang pagsisisi. Like yours truly, I did not go to the dentist for 2 years and the last 3 weeks has been punishment for me. I have had to have many of my teeth repaired na ano pa nga ako recently. I am going through root canal. Anyway, absentee voting starts tomorrow. For those of you who signed up, who registered for absentee voting because you will be on duty as an official or as a member of the military, armed forces, police, etc., hospital, pati sa media, absentee voting starts tomorrow. However, if you failed to register and you were not approved by the COMELEC, then sorry na lang, you cannot vote starting tomorrow. I think it's a 3-day advance voting for absentee voting. Facebook, meanwhile, said it mistakenly, ay mali, nagkamali ang Facebook in restricting the account of BBM spokesperson or spokesman. Okay, Meta Platforms, owner of social media giant Facebook, said the account of attorney Vic Rodriguez, spokesperson of presidential candidate Marcos, was temporarily restricted after it was incorrectly flagged as an imposter account. Medyo pinagdudahan po kung talagang sa kanya yung account o may nagpapanggap. So as a precaution, the account was restricted for I think 24 or 48 hours. Okay, that photo on the right side is a photo of a COMELEC worker bringing out freshly painted or bago ba yan? I think it is a freshly painted ballot box outside the COMELEC office in Arroceros, Manila. Meanwhile, three arrested hackers arrested by the cybercrime anti-cybercrime group of the PNP are linked to Smartmatic former employees. Ayan po, nagkakatuhugan na, nahuhuli na lahat yung mga nanggugulo ng Smartmatic at COMELEC. Meanwhile, that center photo is a photo of the members of the Manila Police District Anti-Riot Unit showcase their skills during the NCRPO Civil Disturbance Management Competition at Bagong Diwa in Taguig. Okay, so below that you have government resources abused by bets in campaign. According to a study of Lente, lumalabas po na totoo. Batay sa kanilang pag-aaral, it turns out that there have been cases of abuse wherein candidates use government vehicles and employ government workers in their campaign. Okay, meanwhile, Elon Musk, the Canadian billionaire, richest man in the world, has bought Twitter, the social media platform Twitter, for $44 billion lang naman. Para lang siyang namimili ng bahay. Okay. And then the photo on the left is a photo of wonderful garden at SM Aura Premier. Yan po yung floral installation, visual arts, Molly Chen and Filipino creative Mark Magnaye put up those visual installations for children. Okay. Meanwhile, probe ordered on second boosters for ineligible. Nagkagulo daw po kasi kahapon, well, hindi gulo as in basag ulo, but there was a lot of confusion to the point that people who were not qualified for vaccination, particularly senior citizens only, without comorbidity and who are not immunocompromised were vaccinated. According to those who gave the vaccination, they were pressured because people had crowded into their facilities. Okay. Meanwhile, Senator Ping Lacson, presidential candidate, visited Abra province. And last but not the least, you have that photo of the new elected Board of Trustees of the PRSP, or Public Relations Society of the Philippines. For those of you who want to know more of what's in the news, please go to the website online online facility of the Philippine Star. Let's now go to our topic regarding COVID predictions for May and June. The DOH earlier reported a decrease in compliance of minimum public health standards in NCR. Yung pong mga reporter ng iba-ibang stasyon ng radyo have been reporting that you can now see so many people walking around with no masks. And if you watch all the campaigns, the rallies, no one is observing social distancing. So now people are worried that we are going to have a surge in May and June, particularly the World Health Organization, who emphasized the need to promote actively the booster shot for those who are double vaccinated. Let's bring in Dr. Guido David of the Octa Research Group. Dr. David, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Sita. Long time no see.
Yes, okay na rin yung long time. Namimiss kita, namimiss mo ko at hindi tayo natataranta. But actually, Dr. David, I am concerned, I have been concerned about all this forecast because I know representatives of the World Health Organization don't casually make declarations about possible surges because there is science behind. There is a method to the madness, so to speak. Now, what are you seeing from your end of the table regarding itong mga sinasabing pag hindi tayo umayos, tayo ay maaayos sa May or sa June ng up to 60,000 cases a day? Totoo ba yun?
Well, Sita, we have been cautious in making projections, especially since we have been waiting for data sa rest of the world. Alam natin nagkakaroon ng surge or may surge na sa China and in other countries na before na they were previously unaffected by COVID. So, but what about these projections? Now we are concerned. Now we are going to see an increase in cases in the Philippines. Bakit? Hindi lang kasi yung minimum public health standards yung concern. Usually, it comes when there's a confluence of factors na nagkakasabay-sabay. And this happened in January. We had, nung late December, we had a new variant, yung Omicron, and then decreasing immunity or waning immunity, and then yung minimum public health standards. So usually made three components yan. And so for now, we agree na mababa na yung compliance with minimum public health standards because siguro mga kababayan natin, they don't see any urgency. There's no increase in cases. Ano lang naman yan eh. I mean, yung mga tao, they just respond to experience. Kunyari, nakikita nila, marami ng tao sa labas. At minsan, they become more, let's say, more adventurous. Inaalis nila yung mask nila, hindi sila nagkakasakit. And then they feel na, after some time, nagiging mas complacent na sila. Pero ang pinaka-concerning dito, Sita, is we're seeing a resurgence in cases in countries with similar characteristics as the Philippines. Andito yung South Africa and yung India. Bakit sila in particular? Because they already had the Omicron surge, they had the Delta surge. So meron na silang wall of immunity, but now they're having a resurgence. Anong reason? They have new subvariants there. These are subvariants of Omicron, BA4 and BA5 in South Africa, and then BA2.12 in India. So dahil dito, we think that there will be an increase in cases sometime soon kasi parang sumusunod lang tayo sa South Africa. When South Africa had the Omicron surge nung late November to December, after some time, nakapasok na rin dito sa bansa natin.
Okay, so given that experience, meron na palang BA4, BA5 because all I've heard of is BA2. Mukhang hindi yata na lalabas sa media yung mga sub-variants na yan. But having said all of that, what makes it a definite possibility or you know, our ultimate reality, ika nga nila, because South Africa and India, they have modern places and they have areas that are very squalid or impoverished. What makes it a certainty that we're going to have those variants here in the Philippines?
Well, yung Omicron, Sito, hindi naman natin napigilan nakapasok sa Philippines. And this is highly transmissible, itong mga BA4, BA5. So ang dati kasing sinasabi na, baka makapasok yung subvariant na nasa China, which is really a subvariant of BA2. Nagkaroon na tayo ng BA2. So we have some protection against BA2 already. So kaya hindi tayo ganun ka-concern. But meron pa rin concern dyan. Kumaga, what we're looking at is yung mga breakthrough infections na pwedeng mangyari with these new subvariants. Kasi hindi naman lahat naka-breakthrough. So kunyari, yung mga ibang subvariants, even the Omicron XE, which is parang binabalita nila, that's a concern. So far, wala pa naman tayong nakita dito sa bansa natin. So we have similar characteristics. Yung sabi niyo nga, Sito, yung we have a relatively high vaccination coverage, 60% of population. Pero we know na immunity is waning. And yung timetable, usually mga 3 to 4 months after a surge, nagkakaroon ulit ng panibagong increase in cases because of the waning immunity nga. Kaya usually mga waves natin, they're about 3 to 4 months apart. Nakita namin yung pattern na yun. And ganun din sa South Africa, it's about 3 to 4 months since their previous surge ng Omicron. And now, tumataas ulit yung cases. But to be fair, we don't think this is going to be as bad as ng January, Sito. We don't see 60,000 cases per day. Kasi January, we had up to 40,000 cases per day. So siguro, this one will be much lower based on our preliminary analysis. And karamihan, mild lang naman siguro because most people have been vaccinated. And that's the advantage of having the vaccines. Mostly, it will be mild. Pero syempre, may mga tatamaan pa rin na severe kung lalo na kung hindi pa vaccinated.
Okay, you continue to do the numbers, you're doing the, ano ba ang tawag mo doon? Meron kang scientific term doon eh.
Projections or,
yeah, you know, it's like this is on the board and this is our projections, etc. Are you seeing, you know, a growth? Kumbaga, di ba, may mga charts tayo. Is there a consistent pattern heading towards disaster?
Wala pa sa ngayon, Sito. Although I'm hearing something on the ground na pero I don't want to speculate and bring it.
Yeah, because according to this information provided to me by our team agenda, there are areas with some reported cases again. Marinduque, Surigao del Sur, Ilocos Norte, Kalinga, Batanes, Quirino, Catanduanes, Eastern Samar, Davao City, Butuan City, Olongapo City, Tarlac City, Angeles City. Parang clusters.
Right.
You know, like you have Ilocos, Kalinga, Batanes, parang North Cluster, and then you have Olongapo, Tarlac, Angeles, Luzon Cluster, etc. Does this concern you? Have you seen something like this in the past leading to the surges?
Yes, Sito. Pero these clusters are still very, very low numbers of cases. So hindi pa tayo concerned. In fact, one of the most medyo concerning right now na binabantayan ko is Camarines Sur. The reproduction number there has increased to 1.32. Pero hindi pa naman siya major concern kasi yung number of cases nila, the whole province is averaging 3 cases per day. So may magsasabi, oh, it's not a concern. 3 cases per day, they can manage it. It's a very low ADAR. Pero the previous week, they were averaging less than 1 case per day. So may increase na nangyari. It's in fact, in terms of percentage increase, malaki yung tinaas niya, 1,800%. Pero from kunyari, almost 0 to 3 cases, right now, it's not yet concerning. But it doesn't mean it's not a concern. Baka yan na yung early indications leading up to something. Pero right now, it's too early for us to conclude from that. Kasi parang we would be like alarmist na tumaas na konti. Parang we're saying, tumataas na dito. But we are definitely monitoring that. And kung next week, tumataas pa rin dito sa mga areas na to, like Camarines Sur na mention natin, then we would definitely be hindi naman sounding the alarm, but at least calling attention to these areas na baka a surge is already starting in the country.
Well, I think there is a reason to justify the alarm, because if we all recall, ladies and gentlemen, we started with 2 tourists from Wuhan, China, coming to the Philippines, and I think I don't even want to count how many dead Filipinos we now have because of COVID-19. Now, going back to this issue, how does vaccination alter your projections? Kasi when you were doing the forecasts in the beginning, there was no vaccination program to speak about. How did vaccination impact your studies and your projection? Paano nabago yung mga formula ninyo?
Well, in terms of yung numbers, when we project, hindi masyado nagbago dito. So, kunyari, yung Omicron surge, we still saw a high number of cases. Pero ang nagbago yung hospitalization and yung response natin. Kasi before vaccinations, pag dumaming cases, most of them severe, napupuno again yung hospitals natin. And that was the biggest problem we had before vaccinations. And that's why at that time we were, part of the group na calling for lockdowns. And even see Presidential Advisor Joey Concepcion went on our side calling for lockdowns kasi he saw the need to control the surge because of we didn't have a high number of vaccinations and people were dying. This happened around March last year because of the surge ng Alpha and Beta variant. Nagkaroon ng overflow sa hospitals, and a lot of people died. In fact, more people died than what was reported based on PSA, yung excess deaths. The number of deaths was about 5 times higher than what was reported. So what we're seeing sa official number of deaths is not everything. Pero what changed is that just like nung January, nung Omicron surge, we had a surge, pero we didn't have to lock down kasi we were able to manage it. Hindi na napuno yung hospitals. Most of them were mild. And we're seeing possibly the same thing will happen. Most of the cases will be mild kasi Omicron pa rin ito. Except for those who are vaccinated and maybe mga immunocompromised, pwede pa rin sila maging severe.
Okay, now what about campaigns, election, etc.? Because you did the comparison with India, and I remember India had that major blowout of COVID because nagkasabay o nagkasunod. They had a nationwide religious festival. They had the election, the campaign period, and then the elections. And before you know it, there were so many cases and people dying. And kumbaga, yung crematorium nila sa kalsada na ginagawa o sa tabing dagat. What are your concerns about the impact of the elections and the campaign?
Well, may concern yan, Sito. And another example na bibigay ko is South Korea. They recently had their elections. And because of that, yung cases nila ballooned to, I think, 500,000 per day or something, around that level. But it's usually multifactorial yan, Sito. So ibig sabihin, hindi lang yung factor ng campaign rallies kasi we had sufficient vaccination, okay naman tayo. Kaya lang, pag nagkasabay-sabay na we're still having the rallies, kasi we've been having the campaign sorties for more than 2 months now, wala pa naman tayong nakikitang major surge or a serious increase in cases. Pero pag nagkasabay-sabay yan, yung campaign sorties, and then waning immunity, which is happening around this time, kasi 3 to 4 months after January, we're starting to have waning immunity. And then new sub-variants that could be entering the country kasi hindi naman strict na yung borders natin. So those 3 factors could trigger a surge. So without, I mean, if we're just looking at maybe 1 or 2 factors na ganun, baka kulang pa sila. Noong February, we had a campaign sorties pero malakas pa yung immunity natin. Wala pang major new sub-variant. Hindi tayo nagkaka-surge. But that could be changing now. So exacto around this election period na, we still have the mass gatherings, we still have, and then yung isa pa yung decreasing compliance with the minimum health standards. So 4 na factors na yun. Those could all be occurring at the same time this election period. And that's a concern. That may be the one that will trigger the surge. Although, like I said, baka hindi naman kasing lala yung surge as January, but we can't say that for sure then at this time, Sita.
Okay, now regarding Korea, what happened with them? Kasi South Korea, they're very high vaccination rate. They're very modern nation. They have a small population. The health protocols are in place. So one would imagine perfect scenario sila, pero pumutok pa rin. Does that mean that the vaccines essentially lost efficacy because of a limited period?
Well, yes, nagkakaroon ng waning immunity with the vaccines, and the vaccines are not 100% against especially against Omicron kasi may mga breakthrough infections. The vaccines are only about 50% on average, about 50% effective against infection. Pero
and of course you're talking statistically, okay? Kasi baka mamaya meron na namang mga magagaling diyan, babanatan ka na naman, sasabihin hindi ka doctor of medicine, wag kang mag-doktor-doktoran, but we're talking statistically.
Yes, Sita, and this is published in databases. So this is something with a reference. I'm not talking out of my behind here. Pero so yung breakthrough infections and then yung waning immunity, kasi sabi natin half of the people can be exposed, who are exposed can be infected. So malaking factor na yun. And even though it's not severe, it will still lead to a high number of cases. So may vaccination, pero they also had the election year campaign sorties, and yes, we know they're probably very compliant with health protocols. So nakikita ko sa pictures, parang medyo paranoid culture din yung mga South Koreans. They tend, minsan mas OA pa nga sa atin, but because of the sorties, the campaign or the election, maybe there was decreased compliance, or maybe the fact na may mass gatherings was a trigger for infections. And then lastly, of course, this was a new variant for them, yung Omicron. They hadn't seen a major surge for 2 years na nakapasok yung Omicron. And it was parang hindi na nila nakayanan. The same thing with China. They had very good pandemic management, very draconian over the past 2 years. Na nakapasok yung Omicron. They didn't have that wall of immunity. Ang difference sa atin and countries like India and South Africa, we had the wall of immunity dahil tinamaan tayo ng Delta, tinamaan tayo ng Omicron, tinamaan tayo ng Alpha and Beta. Because of that, meron tayong, as a population, we have some resistance against the virus. Parang nag-build up na tayo ng natural resistance. And these countries, South Korea, China, they didn't have that kasi walang tumamang, kumaga parang na tayo, hindi man nabugbog na tayo, pero we had the experience historically of these previous surges, and that has helped us build a wall of immunity. And these countries like South Korea and China didn't have that.
And we have the wall of immunity by virtue of exposure and vaccination.
Yes.
Okay, Professor, Dr. Guido David, thank you very much for your time this morning. Alam ko marami pang mag-i-interview sa iyo at saka meron ka pa yatang lecture. So thank you for giving us your precious time this morning. God bless you, Dr. Guido David.
Thank you, Sita. Always a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Okay, that's Dr. Guido David of the Octa Research Group. Ayun po, no? At the end of the day, whatever forecast, whatever science, whatever reality we face, the facts speak for themselves, okay? We have managed to survive because we have been lining up for vaccinations, etc., etc. Get vaccinated, get your booster shot because kahit ano pong tibay nalulusutan. Tingnan nyo yung China. Yung Shanghai ngayon, hindi na the city of dreams para ng state penitentiary. Dahil lahat po ng residente nakakulong na, pati sidewalk nilagyan na ng lambat para hindi makalabas ang tao because of COVID-19. We'll go for a break. When we return, let's speak with one of our favorites, now called Citizen Rowena, former Commissioner Rowena Guanzon here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and joining us here never fails to amaze and impress, particularly me kasi tinalo pa niya ako. Siya ay nasa TikTok na, nasa Reddit na, nasa Facebook pa, and she now holds the title, medyo, ewan ko, baka mapagalitan ako nito, pero the Queen of Online Bardagulan. I don't even know what that means, but apparently our guest has moved on and continues to make her presence known and her opinions heard. We have with us former Commission on Elections Commissioner Rowena Guanzon. Ma'am Rowena, good morning sa imo.
Good morning, Sito. Wayang buntag sa tanan.
Okay, and apparently you have been keeping yourself busy these days. Most people thought, magbabakasyon na yan, magtatanim na yan doon sa Negros, etc. But you have been busy campaigning for a party list group of
Yes.
persons with disabilities, Ma'am Rowena.
Yes, sir. I decided to campaign publicly because my friend, who is the first nominee, has polio, and her daughter is very ill. And so she asked me to if I could campaign, and I said I have no prohibition because there is no prohibition. I came out, and I decided also that since the many supporters are intimidated by these BBM trolls, and I have an axe to grind against BBM Marcos after the DQ case. I decided to do very aggressive style of tweeting and posting, and then ang mga anak ko, they called me the Queen of Bardagulan.
What exactly does Bardagulan mean?
Well, if you translate it in Tagalog, it sounds something like nearly violent language, nearly. But they also call it. I always say Bardagulan is an art form. Not everybody can perfect it because the style has to be witty. You have to choose words that are witty. And ibalik nyo doon sa nag-a-attack sa inyo. For example, may attacker ako, sabi, matanda ka, malapit ka na sa impyerno. Sabi niya. Sagot ko sa kanya, after you. Diba?
Okay. So putting humor and wit and intellect in your rebuttals. Yes,
but the general idea is that you should not be intimidated by trolls. You should not take it personally. Do not get hurt. Get back. Don't get hurt. Get back. Because they were created precisely by BBM to intimidate us. You notice that at the start of the campaign, parang marojas very decent, very ang mga tao, they want to be good manners and all that. But I said, no, you cannot. You already learned the lesson. You should learn the lesson. So I decided to do that. And you know what? I have no modesty, so I'll tell you. My Rowena Guanzon on Facebook has 30 million post engagements in 28 days.
In 28 days?
30 million. So doon kami nagbabardagulan kasi pumapasok din ang trolls doon eh. Pero yung mga anak ni Bing Guanzon, which is a private group, that is a different group that's protected. It's private and it's like an army. But yung mga bata dyan, of course, all Lenny supporters yan. Kasi hindi pwedeng mag-BBM ka, tapos mag-anak ni Bing Guanzon ka. So, there are two groups. The anak ni Bing Guanzon, which is a private group, around 50,000. And then the Rowena Guanzon, which is around 350,000. Twitter is around 186,000. I just started TikTok because I found out that the BBMs are in TikTok. So I said po, sila nga yung bababa ng mga IQ na pa. Hindi mo TikTok din ako. Ano ba kailangan dyan? Sayaw-sayaw? Sayaw ako. Kahit ano, gawin ko. Manalo na si Lenny.
You are really engaging the competition. I won't call them the enemy because at the end of the day, after the elections, pare-pareho tayong Pilipino, pagalingan na lang yan. Now, but Ma'am Bing, ito na kinakamusta kayo ng former student mo si Charles Leano. Kahit na nakagraduate na, nagpapalakas pa rin.
Nasa Amerika yan Kampanya ka dyan hanggang May 9 pa naman. Pwede mo pa akong iboto. Number 54.
Okay. Now, allow me to ask. Okay, total pinag-uusapan na itong kampanya. I won't name names, but I have heard some candidate address a rally at sinabi, pag-ingatan ninyo itong eleksyon na ito at baka dayain at manakaw ang ating panalo, etc. And now the concern for me is this. I'm beginning to see a pattern similar to what happened in America. Una, nagkaroon ng mga colors, political division, issues, and then the campaign that was so ugly, and then coming into the presidential elections, Trump started talking about, you have to secure our win, don't let them cheat us in this area and that area, etc. And next thing you know, there was the January 6 attack on the state capitol. Now, do you share my concerns na baka after the election mas lalo pang uminin at gumulo?
Yes, kasi galing naman yan kay BBM Narcos Hindi naman yan ang gagaling sa camp ni Lenny. Ibig sabihin, he's the one who's running scared. I did not use that word. I read it somewhere that they said they're running scared. They're campaigning like they're running scared. Hindi ka man naman mag-running scared, pati bahay-bahay ginagawa na. O di ba, house to house na one-to-one, one-on-one, house to house. Pati ako, nag-house to house ako sa Old Balara kahapon bahay nila, kinakatok ko, nagugulat sila. Yung iba, tuwang-tuwa. Yung iba naman parang nagugulat sila, parang, di ba sa TV lang to? Ba't nandito to sa bahay ko? Kaya ngayon, very aggressive na yung campaign ni Lenny Robredo para sa bandwagon effect. Kung sa gera, ito yung no vote will be left behind. Kailangan ma-deliver sa Kaya natatakot si BBM kasi sabi niya is conditioning the mind of the people, lalo na ang kanyang grupo na baka dayain sila. Dadayain daw sila. So sabi niya, kung ngayon ang eleksyon mananalo ako, pero dahil dadayain ako, matatalo ako. Kaya kailangan humanda kayo, sabi niya. So, ako naman ganito. Mga Pilipino naman hindi naman ganun kabobo. Di ba vote counting machine, accuracy niyan sabi ng PPCRB, 99.98 something% in the last 2 elections. Paano kayo madadaya dyan? Kayo nga itong mga BBM, natatakot na kami, baka mag-house to house vote buying kayo Kami house to house, laway lang di ba? Kayo, vote buying, baka ang gagawin nyo, natatakot kami. Kaya unahan na namin kayo. Kakatok na kami sa mga bahay. Ayun, they're conditioning the mind of the people. They're voters. Ano ba ang ibig niyong sabihin dyan? Hindi pala maasahan yung COMELEC at vote counting machine. Kung natalo siya, nagpa-recount siya, nag-recount naman ang COMELEC kasalanan niya, tanga sila. Nagpa-recount sila doon sa mga baluarte ni Lenny Robredo. Negros Occidental, Bicol, Maguindanao. Siyempre, pag di-recount mo yan, mas dadaming boto dyan. Sila, dapat nagpa-recount doon sa Ilocos Norte at sa baluarte nila. Mga tanga kasi mga abogado nila Ba't nila kami sisisihin sa COMELEC? Di natalo sila. Kaya ang pag-iisip nila. Kasi ito mga ito, they don't play fair They don't even pay taxes. Why will they pay fair, di ba? Ang kapal Kaya ang sabi ko, kung ako kumandidato sila doon, kawawa yan sa akin kasi talo panalo. Babanatan ko siya sa stage, kaya lang, siyempre, Alam niyo naman, kung kandidato, hindi po ako kandidato. Ang kandidato po, P3, PWD, number 50 mo.
Okay.
Kaya ang ano ko lang naman na I go on stage kasi gusto ako imbitahin ng mga rally organizers sa local. Hindi po ako hindi naman po ako nagpapaimbita. So ang ano ko lang diyan is huwag kayong maniwala sa kanila, nadadayain sila. Sino dadaya sa kanila? Ako milit. Bakit paano sila madadaya ng Lenny Robredo wala ngang pera? Sila nga itong may pera pang vote buying.
Okay, now matanong ko lang Ma'am Bing, no? Ewan ko kung is it still correct to still address you commissioner officially? Hindi na.
Just to be fair to everyone, you can just call me Ma'am Bing or Attorney.
Okay. Attorney or Ma'am Bing, matanong ko lang regarding COMELEC kasi Commissioner Bulay came out with the statement warning those who have been disparaging, accusing, or undermining the character and integrity of the COMELEC that the COMELEC can turn on them and call in the armed forces, etc. Kumbaga, na-sense ko parang siguro nabuisit na rin si Commissioner Bulay sa panlalait. What can you say about all of this na parang there is also an activity to undermine the COMELEC?
Yun na nga kasi nga, ang goal nga is to cast a doubt. Kasi alam na nila matatalo sila ha. Ako maniwala kayo sa akin, noon kay Maruas, alam ko na rin na matatalo dahil dyan kay Grace po Ito, alam na nila they're running scared, matatalo na sila. Kaya gagawa na sila ngayon ng kanilang plan B. Ngayon, binabanat-banatan nila yung COMELEC. Hindi naman mga Lenny yung nagbabanat sa COMELEC kasi, di ba, magagalang to mga batang ito Ako lang hindi magalang So, yung sinabi ni Bulay, nabuisit na yun. Hindi naman siya ganyan. It's a very soft-spoken, di ba, dati siyang fiscal kasi. So, nabuisit na yan, na-imbier na naman. Na-imbier na lolo niyo. Kaya tigilan niyo na yan, ha? Kasi ako, before, ginagawa ko rin yan. Kayo, ha? Sige kayo, pag you threaten somebody, you will gang rape her. Sige, that's an election offense. Yun, aakyat yung kasong yun, di ba? Nung time ng election ni Mar Rojas. Kaya nagsabi na lang si Commissioner Garcia na sabay ganun-ganun ng dimples niya na every criticism is welcome. Diba? Kasi people took it the wrong way, which is correct. You can criticize the COMELEC, you can even write the Elman. You can write. Kasi alam niyo, siyempre, napupuno na rin ng mga tao dyan, pero maniwala kayo sa akin, hindi sila mandadaya. Pati na itong mga bagong commissioners, hindi yan mandadaya. Yung bagong chairman dyan, kasabay ko yan ng point ni President Cory, gobernador siya. I-replace sa Dimaporo, I replace Armin Gustilo. I-replace sa warlords, di ba? Hindi yan mandadaya para kay BBM. Kaya, kuminahon po kayo. Ang COMELEC po, ginagawa ang lahat. Yung mga balot naman na misprint, talagang ipiprint uli yun. Very tedious yan. Binibilang, tapos sinisave ang mga misprinted, tapos print uli, bibilangin uli. Yung pagkarga po sa mga balota, may mga may mga code, yung mga box kung saan pupunta. Pag nag-exchange naman yan, hindi madi-declare na proclaim yung mga gobernador niyo. Kunyari, ang balot ng Negros napunta sa Bohol, yung isang town, maghihintay po muna kahit na walang kalaban yung gobernador namin, si Lacson. Balik yung balot sa Negros at bumoto mga tao bago kami bago mag-proclaim ang COMELEC. Yun lang. Walang problema. May mga yan, contingency lahat. At bawat balot, pinipid sa vote counting machine para matest na itong balot na to ay hindi aaberya. At kung may misprint dyan, na binyari may ink na na-spill, hindi aandar yung balot. Hindi siya babasahin ng machine. Okay? So, relax lang kayo. Ngayon, announcement ko, punta, yung mga hindi nyo nakikita yung precinct number nyo.
Yun, that was my next question.
Pumunta ng Quezon dahil ngayon, nakapaskil na dyan. Yung Iloilo nga, select ko na. At siyempre, maluwarte ko yun. Nakapaskil na po sa mga eskwelahan ng Iloilo voters list. Ngayon, pupunta ako Legazpi, i-check ko rin doon kasi magrarally ako doon sa May 1. I-check ko rin sa mga eskwelahan at sa provincial election supervisor kung nakapaskil na sa mga eskwelahan ng presinto. Pumunta lang po kayo sa mga eskwelahan. I-check nyo po doon. Ayun, kung may resibo kayo ng registration at wala doon yung lista, yung pangalan niyo, pumunta na kayo sa COMELEC ngayon. Ngayon na, pumunta na kayo. Kaya yung resibo niyo ng registration, sana tinago niyo yun. Oh, sige po.
Okay. Tanong ko lang ako, Mambing, yung mga kasi may mga governors, mayors na nangako for different candidates, yung probinsya ko o yung bayan ko para sa inyo 100%, etc. How do we make sure na hindi nagkakapuwersahan or hindi madadaya yung botohan dun sa mga ganon, yung mga strongholds or bailiwicks?
Ito nga ang order ko sa mga anak ko sa mga anak ni Bing Guanzon. Kaya ngayon we are now, ang database namin kung saan silang city, lahat. We are organizing them. Kasi dapat, one day before, on the day of the election, maaga pa sila. Kailangan may mga video na sila para bantayan nila yung vote buying saka violence intimidation. At siyempre, papasa namin yan. We will have our own reporting, Parang akong parang akong namprel dito Gagawa kami ng reporting system para mapasa ko rin sa mga abogado na volunteers. Kaya kung gusto niyo rin po mag-volunteer dito sa mga anak ni Bing Guanzon, pwede po, magsabi lang kayo dyan, mag-message kayo sa mga anak ni Bing Guanzon na abogado kayo, bigyan niyo yung roll number niyo, at kung maaari, yung picture niyo. Ay, gagawa tayong legal team para dyan sa vote buying watch ng mga anak ni Bing Guanzon. Ngayon, yung violence naman, usually yan, mga abra, mga ganon. Last time sa Negros Occidental, di ba, nag-COMELEC control kami doon sa warlord na kamag-anak ko sabi, andun ako, sabi niya, Madam, Prima, Madam, hindi niya alam anong gawin niya. Hindi ako pupunta dyan kasi sabi, hindi daw ako pupunta dyan. Sabi ko sa kanya, kung hindi ka nagpapatay, ba't wala ka dito? Andyan na po, hintayin na po niyo ako. pag sabi niya, antayin niya ako, sabi ko sa mga tao, let's go. Kaya pumunta ako doon sa bayan niya, may dala na akong ambulansya Sabi ko, pag ito ngayon, at least may ambulansya na. Hindi alam ng kasama ko commissioner ngayon, Justice.
Okay, but anong feeling mo, Mambing? Do you think this election will be relatively peaceful? Kasi may mga taong, in fact, some of the former ISCO supporters have said that even within the ISCO camp, they said hindi na raw kailangan ng election watcher dahil computerized na, etc.
Oo naman.
Sabi ni ng PNP, under control na ng COMELEC most of the hotspots. What is your assessment of the outcome and what should we be careful about?
Based on the last elections naman ng presidential, ganun din naman. Yung hotspots identified na yan So may mga more military in places like Abra and the Barm, etc. So, kasi pag mag-election, mag-default dyan, kunyari, naghagis silang granada, hindi nakabotong tao, anybody can petition or motu proprio, the COMELEC can just disregard that previous election as and then reset another special election. Noong 2016, I was the commissioner in charge of Army. So there were a few naman na, sige, boto tayo ulit. So on the ground naman, ang mga military, they're alert. At hindi naman sila umaalis sa pwesto nila. May mga pagkain naman sila doon. Kompleto. So huwag kayong mag-alala kasi the system is in place. Minsan nga, kwento ko sa inyo, pinaligiran yung tech namin para hindi makatransmit. Pobre, nagtago na lang sa banyo, hawak-hawak ko na yung laptop niya. Oy, kahit ganyanin yung tech namin, i-disconnect lang yan namin dito, hindi naman kayo makatransmit dyan what we had to do, sabi sa akin ng director, Ma'am, ano gawin? Ano bang gagawin? Sabi ko, Kailangan, di ba, another laptop or send another text. Oh, yung ginawa namin, nagpadala kami ng isa pang text na mukha lang siyang backpacker, may laptop siya sa likod. We landed him in another airport. Nag-decoy lang kami para hindi siya makidnap or what, di ba? Alam niyo, mas magaling kami sa Comelec kaysa inyo. Marunong kami mandaya kung gusto namin gawin. Lahat ng daya dyan, alam naman ang mga direktor eh. Kaya wag na po ninyong gawin yan. Puminahon kayo. Kailangan may presidente tayo na hinalal natin ng tama. Kasi nanonood naman ang world community.
Bago tayo magtapos, Ma'am Bing, bigyan kita 1 minute para ikampanya mo yung iyong, ano ba ito? 3P. 3P ba tawag nyo doon?
P3. Pamilya, pasyente, PWD. Number 54 sa balota. Ganda-ganda ng jingle ko, Tito. Panahon na para bumoto ka. P3PWD sa balota. Ito po si Rowena Gonson ng P3PWD Party List. Panahon na para bumoto ng P3PWD number 54 sa balota. Thank you, Tito.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Rowena Guanzon. You are refreshing and you are inspiring. God bless you, Ma'am Rowena. Okay. Yan po, former COMELEC Commissioner Rowena Guanzon campaigning for the P3 PWD party list group. And kung nasa puso po nyo tulungan yung mga may kapansanan, then let's vote for that party list. Kasi talagang tayo, may kanya-kanya tayong agenda. And okay, before we go, let me read our blessing, our prayer for this week. It comes from Saint John Henry Newman. Okay, may the Lord support us all the day long till the shades lengthen and the evening comes and the busy world is hushed and the fever of life is over and our work is done. Then in his mercy, may he give us a safe lodging and holy rest and peace at the last. Okay, amen. Yan po ang prayer blessing for this week. And we want to remind everybody, please get your vaccination, your booster, your first booster. And if you are immunocompromised, get your second booster shot. And for those of you who are contemplating on the elections, I just appeal to you, let's pray for God to have mercy on the Philippines, for God to bless the Philippines. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm your host, Cito Beltran. Please keep it here on One News PH.